And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Why, hello, Melody. What is this giant box you are holding?
Castle dice.
Castle Dice is a box which is really big. You probably haven't seen a box like this. In fact, the manufacturers let me know the reason the box is this big was because they could put it in a certain kind of mailing, and also it has room for all the expansions. But still, it's kind of a big box. I don't know if we put this on the shelf where we're going to put it. But anyhow, Castle Dice is a game about using dice to build a castle. Sounds interesting, and we both like rolling dice. So let's take a look and see if the game is any good. As you can see, there's a lot of pieces involved in this game, especially there's a ton of custom dice. Each of these dice is a color and corresponds to a different type of good. What players are going to do is they're going to take some of these stones and place them here at the beginning of the game, and this keeps track of how many of each good that you have. So as I get wood, I'll move this track. As I get stone, I'll move this track. Now, the game takes place over 7 rounds, and you can keep track over here. This is also an extra die that you can use in a solitaire version of the game, if you'd like to play that. There are 3 decks of cards here. There's marketplace cards, castle cards, and village cards, village and castle cards. And you'll be using these cards over the course of the game. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build cards that are worth victory points. So you can see here, for example, that this keep here, this tall keep, which is now coming into focus, is worth 4 victory points. The Deep Moat's worth 2, Royal Chambers 1, Great Hall 3. Many of the cards in the Castle deck are worth victory points, while many of the cards in the Village deck are useful cards that will help you get to those victory points. So the first thing we do on a turn is we decide who goes first, which will pass clockwise around the table unless someone has the most horses. If someone has the most horses, then that person will go first. Then players will discard and draw up to 5 cards in their hand, and they can draw from both of the decks. They can draw from the Castle and the Village deck. However, the person who has the most chickens at that point they get 1 extra card for their hand. Then players are going to pick the dice that they roll. Now, the dice that a player rolls are determined by what round it is. So you can see here in round 1, every player is going to get 2 brown dice, 2 gray dice, and 1 yellow dice, and then you get 2 dice of your choice. So let's say I take a green and a red. Now, I may not want a green and a red, but that's up to me. So each player is going to take those dice, and then all the players are going to roll those dice. And they're going to place those dice in the middle into a common pool for all players. However, if you roll a barbarian and each die has a barbarian on it, then that barbarian gets placed in the area on your board for barbarians. See, there's a barbarian there. Ha 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 ha. All right. Now, all the other ones are placed in the middle, and then starting with whoever goes first, each player is going to take one of these dice and immediately take whatever it gives you. So, for example, if I take this one, it will give me 2 stone. This gives 1 stone, 2 wood, 1 coin, and 2 iron. Each of the dice has the resource that matches that die. So, for example, yellow dice will come with coins or double coins on them. But each die also has one of the animals, like the yellow coin comes with the horse, the gray coin comes with the chicken, the brown die comes with the cow. And in fact, I should mention that the brown die goes up to 3 wood. The red die actually has iron, but has all the different animals on it. So the different dice will give you different things. So you will immediately take one of those chickens or cows or pigs or horses, or you'll add your resources on your board down here. So players will be doing all that as I take the dice. And they'll keep going till all the dice are gone. Then a player can go to the market. If a player has one of each of the animals, they can turn those in for a market card. These cards do not count to your hand size. There's a few victory points in here, but they're usually just really good cards to play. Then your workers produce. Now, one of the things that I mentioned was this deck here. And in this deck are different cards that you can build as the game progresses that will give you villagers. These villagers will come when you build different villagers, you'll place them in your village in different spots. And one of the places you can place them is here in the workers. And so if you have a worker and you have to place a worker in the wood spot first, then the stone, and so on. If you have a worker, during this phase, each spot that has a worker gets one resource of that type automatically. Then the merchants will work. Each merchant that you have, and that's if you put a villager down here, will allow you to change one of your resources to the next higher level. And if you have 2 here, you can do it twice, and if you have 3 there, you can do it 3 times. Also, I should mention there's another villager down here that lets you, when you collect an animal, you can collect 2 of that animal. If you have 2 of them, you can collect an animal of a different type. And if you have 3 of them, when you collect an animal, you can collect 2 different animals of your choice. Finally, after the merchants work, then people are going to build. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the cards in your hand, and let's say I want to build this merchant, which will give me a merchant here. I have to discard 3 gold, so if I had 3 gold, I would knock this down by 3, and I would place the merchant in front of me. And I would also put him out. And there's all different sorts of things I can build. There's farmers, there's workers. There are also cards I should mention in these cards deck that can be played at different times. Like this one says, play instead of gathering. The next player chooses the villager type that you have room for, and you get them for free. And so there's other cards, but many of these cards can be built, and many of the castle cards can be built because, again, this is how you get victory points. So to build this seat moat, which is worth 2 points, I would need to pay 3 wood, 2 stone, 2 gold, and 2 iron. It also gives me a special ability. When I gather an animal, I can choose to get one of that die's resource instead. And so there's all sorts of different cards that you can build. There's also special cards in this deck also, and you can build these things in front of you. After everyone's done building or not building, then the barbarians raid. For each barbarian that a player has, they will lose 1 of each resource. However, one of the things you can build are guards, and you can stick guards in any of the spots over here, and a guard will protect that resource from having 1 subtracted from it. There's also lots of cards in both decks that allow you to re-roll barbarians when you get them, so there's other ways to fight them off. So this will continue for 7 rounds. As players roll dice, and you'll notice that there's different dice that are rolled for each round. After the 7th round, after the points are totaled up, whoever has the most points is the winner. There's also whoever has the most villagers in their village will get a bonus point, and whoever has the most animals will get a bonus point. Now there's 2 animals I didn't mention. One of them is the cow. Whoever has the most cows at the beginning of a round will be able to change one of their villagers to a different spot if they so choose. And whoever is the pig can do a pork chop, and that is when you're taking dice from the middle of the table, you can take a die and change it to any side you want and get whatever you want on that side. However, once you do that, you can no longer take dice from the middle. And that's how you play.
I really like castle dice. It was a lot of fun trying to roll the dice and getting the things, getting the guards to protect them from the barbarians. I liked how there are so many different types of workers. That was really helpful, and the different cards also helped with some of them.
Yeah, now I have to say, to be perfectly frank, when I got this game, I wasn't really thinking it was going to be a great game. The last couple games from this company, the most recent one I think was Miskatonic School for Girls, and I was not impressed with that game at all. So I was kind of like, and then I saw the size of the box, and I thought, oh man, But then I opened it up, and it was like, woo, look at all these custom dice. That was pretty cool looking. But that doesn't a good game make. But I'll tell you one thing, I really enjoyed this game. I've played this game many times since we've got it. I've just had a good time playing it. And I played it with, I think, all the different versions except for the solo variant. I played 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I played with all the different number of players. And I think that it actually works better with maybe 2 or 3 players because it's faster. That picking the dice can take a longer time with more people. What do you think of the artwork and how everything looks?
I really liked the artwork. I thought it was really good for kids too.
Yeah, the dice are high quality. They're the ones that are the etched into dice so that they work well. Everything is pretty good. There's some animals on the main board, which I'm not sure the round board. 3 of the rounds have animals underneath, and I couldn't figure out why they're there. I looked in the rulebook, doesn't mention that. I looked online, doesn't mention that anywhere. I wonder if you get like a free animal, but what'd that be? You know, I don't know. But other than that, everything was fantastic. I will say that there's a couple of things about the game. First of all, I like the animals. Each animal has its own specialty. Having the most horses lets you go first, and I want to go first to pick dice. However, trading in one of each animal gives you those market cards, which are very powerful. At the same time, you're giving up maybe an advantage you have with the animals. Also, the picking the dice part, I thought that was a lot of fun, and adding that. If you roll a lot of barbarians, it can hurt, so there is always that luck of dice in there. But like I said, there's cards that let you mitigate barbarians, and you can build guards. Did you have like all guards at the end to protect everything, or was that me? I don't remember. Well, and I played different games. I played where I've not built guards. I played where I have built guards. I think building guards is better than not. But if there's any problem with gameplay, I think it's possible on the final round when you're trying, usually as the last rounds come together, you're trying to build things. It is possible to draw a handful of cards and you can't build any of them. You have tons of resources and you simply can't build anything.
Or
and that happened.
No buildings at all.
Right, and that happened at least in one of the games that I played. And that could be kind of frustrating because you could have won or at least been, up there, but you didn't have anything to build. You had all the resources. It's just that by luck of the cards you drew. And I almost wish there was a way to give up a resource, to get rid of cards, to redraw some, to kind of mitigate that, because that could be a big game changer. That does not make me dislike the game, though. For me, my final opinion on this is I want to keep it. A lot. I would like to put this on my shelf and play it again and again because I think it's great. I'm just kind of concerned about the box size. Now, if it does fit expansions, that's pretty cool. So we're going to hang on to it for a while because I think it's cool, but I really like the idea of it. I like rolling dice and then collecting those dice for resources and building things. I think that's neat. I like how you should buy village cards in the beginning so that you can get some stuff that you can build and make and are useful, but then get the castle cards later on so you can get points. And I suppose, Melody, that you could argue that if you got 5 cards that you couldn't build at the end, you should have maybe got 1 castle card and hung on to that as the game went by. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But this is certainly one that I'm going to give a big thumbs up to. I like it a lot. What's your final opinion? 2 thumbs up?
I would have more.
You would have more? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Castle Dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.